Between the booms of the fireworks, the family barbecue, time out on the water, if you got a pet in the mix here, it's very fun, but you also can add some extra chaos to the mix. This morning we're getting some advice on how to keep your pets safe. We've got Dr. Ruhland from St. Paul Pet Hospital along with Butter.
Good morning, guys.
Not phased at all by the holiday weekend that is looming.
You know, I'm so lucky because I don't have a dog that is super phobic of fireworks. Leia, my rescue dog, is a little bit, but Butter couldn't be fazed by anything ever.
Well, let's talk about it. Okay, so we do know there are a lot of dogs specifically, but cats too, that, I mean, obviously rightfully so, fireworks are loud and they don't know they're coming. It's unexpected.
They're confusing.
So how do we prepare this afternoon, tonight, ahead of this so that we're not sitting in a bad situation at night?
So a lot of these pets do not, because they're hypersensitive to noise, they're hearing, pets, including cats and dogs. Let's not forget cats either. Their hearing is much more sensitive than ours. And a lot of them, they associate these, they will generally associate fireworks with storms, right? And dogs get sort of trained over time. And it's important to notice, like I look at Butter here and she's resting comfortably and she hears fireworks. She doesn't get too worked up about it. A lot of dogs don't just wake up one day fearing fireworks. It is a progressive learned behavior that they're conditioned to fear, right? And a lot of this, and you're right, Kelly, I want to kind of talk to everybody about, we have an episode coming today and tomorrow. Obviously, we're going to have all these fireworks, but a lot of this should start before, many weeks before this time happens. And we've already heard this last week. You probably heard fireworks happening, and your dog probably falls into three spectrums of kind of what I think of as a clinician and as a veterinarian. You have dogs that are completely non-phased, like a Butter. Dogs that are non-phased and generally haven't been. Dogs that may be showing some clinical signs, maybe licking their lips and kind of a little bit fearful, giving you kind of a side eye, like what's going on. And then you have dogs that have a full-blown physiological response. They're hypersalivating, they're hiding, they're going and running away. We kind of approach all those dogs differently, and like how am I going to help this patient? The dogs on the first spectrum, like Butter, I actually sometimes will actually give her treats or give her some type of reinforcement when those things are happening, just so that she does not associate fireworks with a bad or negative response. You can do that actually through storm-phobic episodes, and storms are actually okay training episodes for fireworks as they're coming up. But dogs that fall into that second category, we're like, that dog's a little bit nervous, maybe not freaking out and running to the hills, but like definitely a little bit nervous. Those are dogs you want to sit down with and precondition over time and make a positive association with fireworks. You can give them, again, a frozen Kong. Like today, everybody should be, that has a storm-phobic dog, get a Kong with some peanut butter and freeze that, or some really highly desirable treats, so that they can associate and start to associate these noises with, oh, this is when I might get pet extra, or this is when I get this really favorable treat that I normally don't get, right? I love stuffed Kongs, like they're the best and the safest. But maybe a big, rawhide, I'm not a huge fan of rawhides, but emulsified ones, or a chew treat that they don't normally get, associate it with that firework episode. Then those dogs that fall into the third tier, these dogs that are truly, all of you that are at home, you know who I'm talking to. Those dogs, you may want to talk to your veterinarian about potentially getting medications on board, having a safe space for that dog to get away from, and again, using all those preconditioning behaviors and training beforehand is really helpful. Some people have seen those. Have you ever seen those earmuffs for dogs? Those do help, but if the dog is not trained beforehand, it's probably not gonna be super effective. One big thing to remember, and this is for everybody at home, whether you have a storm-phobic dog or not, please be certain that your dog has at least 2 forms of identification on their collars, or put 2 collars on them, and make darn certain that they have a microchip that is active and functioning. When are the 2 days of the year, this is trivia, we've done this before, what are the 2 days of the year that most dogs and cats are lost and are abandoned?
We're going to go ahead and say 4th of July.
4th of July. You guys are on it today.
Listen.
Man, you guys got your coffee. All right. Yeah, so make sure you have a microchip that is active and functioning and that works. Your vet clinic, you can swing in there and do that. One big thing too is this training for puppies. And I say this a lot, like we start talking today about this. Obviously avoiding the 4th of July. Do not bring dogs to fireworks displays. They don't, please just don't do that. Leave them at home, and leave that at home with somebody that they are closely bonded to. But for younger puppies that we're training, a lot of us that got puppies over the spring and this winter, and this might be their first episode, again, having this positive association with fireworks and starting to train them up that this is not something to be fearful of, and never punishing a dog that is anxious from fireworks. Please never do that. Yelling, and the other thing too is act like fireworks aren't there. Don't make it a big deal. Don't yell back at the dog, or like if the dog is barking. That's not going to work. That's not going to help. Right?
Okay.
All right.
So
we ran out of time.
well, there we go. I talk a lot.
It's important stuff, though. Important. We
Good
love it.
stuff.
For more information, you can visit stpaulpet.com. Thanks for being here, Butter. Butter's
She's
nap
thrilled.
time.
She's thrilled for for
That before
Independence
us.
Day.
She's ready for a hot dog to fly off the table.
That's what she's really waiting
I mean,
for.
that's really what she's waiting for.
She's smart.
She's like, wait a minute.
She plays
what?
a slow game.
Did someone say hot dog?